Last week, we talked about my mental state before riding my bicycle across the US. But before we go deeper into that story, I want to take you back to the beginning. I want to take you back to where I became a businessman on a bike. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm 12 years old. It's dark. However, it's time to deliver the newspapers. I was a paperboy, and regardless of the day of the week, regardless of weather, whether it was snowing outside, whether it was cold, whether it was hot, it didn't matter. Those newspapers had to be delivered. Prior to my trip across the United States, prior to any of that, at 12 years old, I just wanted to make some extra money. My parents were poor. We didn't have a lot. Couldn't afford to go out to eat, couldn't afford to have anything extra. But I was hungry to do things that a 12-year-old boy would want to do. I wanted my own money. I wanted my own cash. And so I had the opportunity to deliver papers. And when I became that age where I was able to do that, and I had an interview with a newspaper company, they came out to my house, they hired me on the spot, they told me all the expectations, and then I started. And every day I would get on my bicycle, I would load those newspapers up into this bag. I'd take that bag and put it on my shoulder, and I would have to balance it while I'm riding my bicycle about 1.5 miles to the paper route, 1.5 miles back. I couldn't even fit all the newspapers in the bag at the same time because it would get out of balance and I would fall on the bike. Every day that newspaper had to be delivered. I had a responsibility to each neighbor that had subscribed to having that newspaper delivered. Not only did I have the responsibility to deliver the newspaper, I had a responsibility to collect money from them on a monthly basis. And every month, outside of delivering the papers, I would still deliver the newspaper, and then I would come back and collect money from the individual. Sometimes they wouldn't even be home. I'd have to come back another day and collect from them. And the other responsibility that I had was if a neighbor went on vacation, they paused the delivery of their newspaper. I had to keep up with that. I had to know when the start date was, when the end date was of their vacation, so they wouldn't have newspapers delivered to their home. But I was learning some key principles of life. I was learning that no matter what, I had to get up every day and deliver the newspapers. No matter what, regardless of the storms, regardless of the weather, regardless of the snow, regardless of whatever it was, those newspapers had to be delivered. It taught me a huge, huge lesson. At one point, the newspaper company gave a little promotion. They said, for every new neighbor, every new client that would subscribe to the newspaper, they'd give you a 2-liter Pepsi. Man, I was stoked. I was so excited to get a 2-liter Pepsi, a $3 or $2, or maybe even $1 Pepsi. I was stoked. I would go knocking on doors. Hey, would you like to get the newspaper? Some would say no. Most would say no. I got plenty of no's, but some would say yes. And I was so excited to get that 2-liter Pepsi. I'd bring it home. I'd share with the family. But back then, as I said earlier, we didn't have those privileges of getting sodas at the home. It was very economical living with 3 siblings, my mom and my dad, 3 dogs. You know, it was week by week my parents lived by. I remember at one point with the financial condition that my parents lived in, it wasn't good. And a Saturday morning, I delivered the newspapers. I came back, because it was like 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. By the time I got back, I'd crawl back into bed and get a little bit of sleep before getting up on a Saturday morning. And my mom came in my bedroom about 7:30, and she was like, "Hey, Michael, can I borrow some money?" And I'd open up my little bank bag. It had some cash in it from the deliveries of the newspaper. It had my little receipt book. And I'd give my mom some money. I don't even remember how much it was, $20, $30, $40. But I just remember my mom and dad just not having a lot. For them, it was paycheck to paycheck. But delivering those newspapers gave me an opportunity to have some cash, to have some opportunity to buy some things that I really wanted that my parents could not afford. It just laid the foundation. At that point, I was 12. If we go back about 4 years prior to that, I had another paper route. However, this particular one, it was a little different. I wasn't old enough to have my own paper route. I had to do it through my parents. And it wasn't a daily thing. It was just once a week. And every Wednesday, my older sister and I would put these newspapers into a plastic bag. We'd throw all these plastic bags or these newspapers into the back of the truck. And I'm talking hundreds of them. We would have this truck, the whole bed of the truck filled with newspapers. And either my mom or my dad would take us out, and my sister and I would go door to door slinging these newspapers to land on the front porch, or in some cases we would have to hang them on the doorknob. Every Wednesday, regardless, we were delivering those newspapers. And once a month, my dad would sit us down at the kitchen table, my sister with me, and he would have 3 stacks of dollars. And at the time, they were stacks of cash, but those stacks of cash were really, really small at that time. $2 or $3 in each stack. But he divided them in 3 different stacks, one tithing to go back to the church, one for savings, and one for me personally. And as a kid, I remember going, why do I have to give to the church? Damn you, God. I hate savings, and I don't get anything but a couple bucks. As a kid, I just wanted all the money to myself. I didn't realize until as I got older that my dad was creating the foundation of giving back to others, putting some away for yourself, and then rewarding yourself for your efforts that you've done. And that has followed me through life. Those principles that my parents instilled in me as a young kid to work hard for what you want to accomplish in life, what you want to do. And at the time, I just wanted to go buy a toy or go buy a basketball or do something that a kid would do. I didn't have the ambitions of impacting people's lives or making a difference. I just wanted to make lots of money. But it set the foundation for life as well as being a business owner. And it's pretty interesting correlation that it all started out on a bicycle when I had my own paper route. And then 30 years later, I rode my bicycle across the United States and had this amazing accomplishment there. But the similarity between the two, as a kid with a paper route, regardless of what happened, regardless of whether you were sick, regardless of whether it was snowing outside, regardless of whether it was raining outside, whether it was cold or whether it was hot, regardless of coming home from school and your buddies wanting you to go play football, you had a responsibility to deliver those newspapers. And when I rode my bicycle across the United States, regardless of what happened, the goal was to get across to the other side of the United States. Being run off the road, having 32 flat tires, having all these things that happen, setting my tent on fire at one point, all those things that happen, it just showed me that life is full of surprises, and life, those things happen in our journey through life. And it really helped me set the foundation for scaling and running a business with success, that regardless of failures, they're going to happen. The only reason why you don't fail is because you didn't try. And so I've been able to take the paperboy story, the paperboy mentality, and put that into practice as I rode my bicycle across the United States, as well as being an entrepreneur, that regardless what happens, every day I have a responsibility. Every day I have to get up and make something happen and move that needle forward. It doesn't have to be big strides, as long as the needle's moving forward. And the compound effect of moving that needle forward, the compound effect of delivering that newspaper on a daily basis, the compound effect of just pedaling every day produces the results of going clear across the United States. And so I've taken all of that and put it into business. And so I hope in this podcast that you have taken something from this to go, every day, what are you doing? Every day, are you moving your needle forward? Are you putting something in place that will create a compound effect to accomplish your goal? So what is your paperboy story? What is it that is in your hands that you can look at and go, through that experience, through that trauma, through that whatever it is, I have gained so much knowledge, so much information where I can move forward, that I can create success, that I can create and accomplish those goals and dreams that I've always wanted to do. Look back over your life and find that paperboy story so that you can accomplish the goals and dreams and aspirations that you've always wanted to accomplish. Next episode starts the journey of riding my bicycle across the United States. However, it did not start the way I planned. After stepping off the plane in San Francisco, I found out my bike never made it. Stay tuned and see what happens, and we'll see you on the other side.